So good afternoon once again. I believe we are all doing great, and I'm so happy to have you here. I believe we are going to have a great and impactful session with Dr. Stephen Oluwatobi. So before we start, I would like to do a brief introduction about the facilitator. Dr. Stephen Oluwatobi is one of the faculty members of Covenant University. He's a curator at Hebron Startup Lab, Hebron Startup Lab Covenant University, and also the founder of EduStar Global Foundation. So this afternoon, we'll be taking us further on how to innovate our business, our startups at this pandemic season. What are the things that we need to put in charge? What are the things that we need to eliminate? So we'll be taking us further, and I believe that we are going to have a great time. There's going to be time for question and answers, and after his presentation. So please, everyone, may I join me? Welcome Dr. Stephen Oluwatobi for his presentation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello. Are we here? Can you all hear me?
Yes, we
Hello.
can hear you.
You can.
Okay, so let me start first of all by apologizing for starting late. Like Adiola mentioned in the intro, I was actually involved in a Zoom call that I thought was going to end for that was 11:30. I need to be sure that everyone can hear me. That's what I'm trying to be. I want to make sure I'm not alone. Can you all actually hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hear you.
I hear you actually.
Please, if you can hear me, just send like a chat, just to be sure you can hear me clearly. Or you raise your hand. I just need to be sure you can hear me. I want to be sure that I'm not talking into the thin air. Nobody's sending a chat yet. Okay. Someone sent something. Oh, good. You can hear me loud and clear. Good. So that's good feedback. I believe that's the same for everybody. So this is how you're going to help me. Kindly help me to mute your mic. Put your mic on mute. Then when you have a question, there's a feature that allows you to raise your hand. Then you can use that to go ahead and indicate. Okay, so let's start. innovate or die. So how many of us are business persons here? Just there's an, if you go to the menu above your screen, you'll find the mute, the stop video, click on participants. Over there, you will see a feature there that allows you to raise hand. Good. Jude Kelly just did that now. So if I ask any question, just indicate. That's what technology makes us do, right? So how many of us are into businesses now? You have a business you're presently running. Just raise your hand. Click the raise hand. Let me see you. You have a business you're presently running. Okay, this is Jude. This is Olere. Okay, you Kelly and Olere. Is it just the two of you? Okay. All right. So you can put your hands down. Put your hands down. The same button you clicked to raise hand. The same button you clicked to put your hand down. Put your hands down because I want to ask another group. All right. So how many of you've actually not started, but you have something you would like to start? You see yourself in the next 2 years minimum. You see yourself starting something. Then that group, raise your hand. Click the raise hand. Let me see you. Okay. I can see Adesunuye, Adiola. All right. Interesting. Anyway, I believe there are more persons, and this is being recorded, so it can always be shared with other persons. The reason I needed to ask that question is because I needed to be sure that I was dealing with the right audience, and I needed to know how I was going to tailor this particular conversation, which is Innovate or Die. This is put together by Covenant University Center for Entrepreneurial Development Studies to see how we could help and support businesses, and particularly in this area where the option you have is to innovate if you're going to succeed. So it's either you innovate or you die. And I'll give you instances of what has happened in history. I'll try to be fast with that. And I will also show you certain experiences that have taken place. I'll show you a present reality and what COVID-19 has done to a number of businesses. COVID-19 has led to social distances and lockdown. Premier League can take place. UEFA cannot take place. There's no gathering in any stadium. Football fans should just warming up. The fields are dry. Vehicles are not moving as they should make money. The reason why lots of stealing are taking place is because those that usually live on what they make per day, they can't do the things they do. The guy who sells gala, he lives on the sales he makes on that day. The Agbero who depends on what he does per day. There's no bike guy to stop. There is no job he has to do because of the lockdown. And so for every day that there's a lockdown, you're tempting people to steal. One of the top leading chain hotels in the world called Marriott is on outright lockdown. They have laid off a number of their staff members. And in addition to that, they have cut the salaries of their staff members to the tune of 20% of the original. So many businesses kind of like have been hit hard. So how do you survive in a situation like this? Because in this same kind of negative instances, certain organizations are thriving and they're really, really successful despite the downturn there. And please, if you can remind me, it's not on this slide, but I can show you like something that reflects one of the companies that are really doing extremely well in the midst of this crisis. In fact, as at last week or so, they announced that they were going to hire about 75,000 new staff members to help them meet up with the demands that they're facing. Why? Because in the School of Innovation, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. You take advantage of crisis. You make a lot of money in the midst of crisis if innovation is the perspective with which you run things, right? So you innovate or you die. That's where the whole concept came up from. All right, so my name is Stephen Oluwatobi, like you can see on the screen. I believe everyone can see my screen because I have that confirmation from here. And when you have questions, you can let me know. I'll just take us through on that. So, what exactly is innovation? So by way of introduction, I'll just pick some few instances. I don't know if any of us have seen something like this before. the typewriter, I believe you have. Well, it depends on your age anyway. If you have, just raise your hand. Let me see. Raise your hand. Okay, no, I think that's the wrong question. The right question is, did you ever use this? Judy, you can put your hands down. I think it's the wrong question to ask, did you ever see this? I want to believe that maybe you've seen it. But has anybody ever used this? You actually used this kind of machine before? By the way, let me hide this machine. This machine, it's as you are typing on it, is printing for you at the same time. As you're typing on it, it's printing for you at the same time. And it's a remarkable machine, right? Has any of you used this machine before? Raise your hand, let me see. You actually used it. Wow, 2 persons. 3? Okay. 3 out of 6, that's 50%. Okay, 1 person's hand is out. All right. Good. Now, but question. Does anybody have an idea of where this machine is now? How many persons use this? So let me give you like some background. In the early 80s, from the 70s, actually, certain things started to change as a result of the race on getting to space. It was a competition between the US, the Germans, the Russians, as to who was going to be the first to get to space. So innovation as at that time can be termed discovery. I mean, who is the first man to get to the North Pole? Who is the first to get to the South Pole? Who is the first to discover this new world? Who is the first to find this? So, I mean, after they've discovered every possible place, the next thing was who is going to be the first to get to the moon? So, I mean, lots of research taking place. I mean, the research involved, okay, how do we even get there in the first place? So there was a need to invent this machine called a rocket. And so they tested, simulators, invited mathematicians. How best are we going to get to the orbit? And how can we go beyond the orbit? How can we even get to the moon? Getting to the orbit is one thing, getting to the moon is another thing. Now the next challenge is how do we bring the man back to the earth? Even if we get him there, we can succeed in getting him there, but how do we get him back? So a lot of issues came up. And so one of the things they came up with that they found out was going to help them accomplish that mission was this machine called the computer. Now, this computer I'm talking about is not the kind of computer that we now see we call laptops and all that, or like a mobile device. The kind of computer I'm talking about is the one that can fill a massive room of up to about 500 square meters or 600 square meters. They have to use like powerful air conditioners to cool the computers because they're generating heat. But as big as it is physically, they were all in kilobytes. I mean, the capacity of their drives were in kilobytes. If you want to know what kilobytes is, your Microsoft Word, basic Microsoft Word documents, when you save it, check it, it's in KB. That's the kilobyte there. And a kilobyte is not even up to an MB. I think it takes about 1,000 kilobytes to make an MB. Even your movies are in maybe hundreds of megabytes, and some of them even gigabytes. And your mobile device is roughly about 30 gig to 60 gig. Given that, the computer that actually took the first man and landed him on the moon was in kilobytes. And the phone in your pocket, on your hand, or what I'm using to watch this particular webinar is in gigabytes. So if a kilobyte computer can take a man on the moon, how many men can your phone land on the moon? This is just to tell you that the desperation to innovate was so intense that, in fact, it was even a remarkable and ingenious solution to develop a computing device that was even in kilobytes. It's with time, as a result of innovation, we started seeing degree of improvements. So exploring this whole idea of computers started to lead to other things. Apart from other engineering things, what can we use it for? And one of the things they figured out they could do with the computer was word processing. So here you can type, you can look through, you can edit, and just print clean. Unlike the computer, where you type, and as you type, you make a mistake, you get this thing called the Tipex, or this typewriter eraser, you try to erase, dirty, messy work. And if you have a lot of that, that's too much, you might need to type all over the whole process again, So the computer opened us up to the possibility of making clean documents. You can edit them before they come out. And this is besides all other possibilities. And so one of the leading typewriter companies that had made huge amount of money in millions of dollars is this company called Olympia. Olympia was the leading typewriter organization in the world as at that time in the 70s and 80s. And so they were being warned that the digital age will change a number of things. I think it's good you should move into computers, but they didn't listen. They didn't listen because, I mean, there's this thing about being a Goliath. You don't believe anything can defeat you. You just think you're number one. And this explains why the mighty fall. So Olympia didn't listen to that. And so the best they could come up with as at that time, just to prove that they were innovative, was to come up with the electric typewriter, which didn't solve the problem. The only difference is that one is manual, the other is electric, you know. And so to cut the long story short, Olympia has fallen. And so that's the end of the typewriter business. Now, another thing I'd like us to look at as an instance is, just a second, at least it's zooming out. Hold on. Let me stop the share. And okay, so I think this thing is about to go off. We might need to send another link again. I guess something wasn't set right at the beginning. But let's still proceed. So I believe you can see my screen, right? Good. And put your stuff on mute. Put your mic on mute. So let's look at another case. The case, make full screen. Good. Yeah. So this is what defeated the computer, the typewriter, and took us into another dimension. Okay, another example I'd like to give you is, I think the one you can relate to it quickly is Nokia. So Nokia was king. Nokia was extremely king in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. They literally owned the African market. Nigeria was a huge, massive market. I mean, think of the Nigerian population as at that time, roughly about 155 million people. 1999-2000, the government, issued the license to allow a few persons, about 3 companies, to deliver GSM technology for people to be able to communicate at more affordable rates than the not technology that they were using prior to that time. And of course, for mobile technology to fly, people need to have mobile phones. So one of the phones that really hit it and made it big in Nigeria at that time was Nokia. I mean, they had durable phones. They had durable batteries. I mean, if you want to have a phone that the battery will last for a long time, possibly might never charge for this, is actually Nokia. If it falls down, it doesn't get destroyed. It's just disassemble itself, and all you need to do is arrange it back. That was ingenious in itself. We should get inside what all you need to do is have it to get dry. In fact, it got to a stage at that time that if your phone should fall down, the first thing they will ask you, is it a Nokia? Because it's only Nokia that can survive those kind of hits or fall down. But with time, getting to the year 2005, 2006, 2007, the appetite for users started to change because of 2 things. The first is the BlackBerry, and the second is the iPhone. So the BlackBerry at that time had an ingenious tech for this chat. What do you guys call it? The BBM messenger, where people can chat. So that was gradually increasing the appetite of potential users for having more features than just make calls and touchlight and all that. People wanted to have smarter phones, and Nokia wasn't looking into that angle. Nokia failed because they had the largest market share in terms of selling phones. They didn't pay a lot of attention to that. Now, to crown it all, the company called Apple came up with the iPhone. And that was beyond the phone. It was both a phone, a web browser, an iPod, had lots of features. You could install applications in it, and this literally increased the appetite and desires of potential users like you and me, that we didn't just want to have a device that could only make calls and be touchlight, wanted to do things beyond that. And so by the time Nokia realized that they were losing their market share just already too late for them to get back to it. And so this is what happens. This is how Goliaths fall. This is how the mighty falls. They're so big they can't see the minutest details. And what usually brings Goliath down is the innovative capabilities of David, the ability to pick simple solutions like slings and help to bring down big and great companies. And so what scares big companies the most in this age which called the knowledge economy is the innovativeness of Goliath. And so as a startup, it's easy for you to start something that can render what's currently big obsolete. Banks, for instance, now are extremely scared of a number of things. Many startups are coming up now that are making savings and getting loans a lot easier than banks. And banks are gradually losing their market share. For those of them that will not be innovative, of course, you know the outcome is it's innovate or you die. And that's how the market really works. So why do we have new models come out virtually every year? Because the appetite of potential users always change. The user or the customer is king. Your money is in the hands of customers. How do you make money? Try to serve as many people as possible, and they reward you with the price or the amount of money that you charge for each of the units. You serve 1 million people, and you make $1 from 1 million people, or $10 from each of the million people. So that's $10 times 1 million people. So you serve them well, they pay you well. That's it from the business viewpoint. And so their appetites change. You have to be able to meet the expectation or beat the expectation through quality, through innovation, because of the appetites that keeps increasing. And so to address and remain competitive, you have to stay innovative. In fact, to compete with other persons and other players in the industry, you have to employ innovation. That's how you innovate. And so innovation is about doing something that renders other existing solutions obsolete. That is, the new destroys the old. And that's what this man, Joseph Computers, calls creative destruction. So only the strong survive where it comes to innovation. Only the wise excel. Only the lonely die slowly. You can't keep doing it the same way and expect to be the king. There's something boring. Every product has a life cycle. If you don't tweak it a bit, you most likely lose end users. And the reason I said that is this: if you observe even toothpaste, they may not change the content, but they might change the design of the packaging, just to give a seductive idea that there's something really unique or new about it. So as a startup or an aspiring entrepreneur, you have to factor in innovation into a number of things that you're trying to do so that you can distinguish yourselves in it. Later on, by the end of the class, I will also show you what you can do and also introduce you to my book and how that can also help you build this particular angle, particularly around building the mindset around it and how you can actually apply it to the things that you're doing. So what's innovation? In simple English, it actually means improvement. It means change. It means making things simpler, making it cheaper, making it better, making it faster. You keep refining it. So in simple terms, it's simplicity, right? If it's still complex for the end user, then it's not simple enough. If it's not simple enough, then it's not innovation. So if you think of your mobile device, now I don't know the kind of mobile device you're using, but if you try to think and recall and find out whether you read the manual before you used it. I don't remember the last time I read a manual to use a phone, because the users have figured things out. If people still need to read a manual or ask 1 or 2 questions to be able to use it, it means you've not made a product that is innovative enough or simple enough for them to use. So innovation factors the idea of simplicity. I think the iPad was the first device that came out without a manual. They made it so simple and good enough that the users could use them without having to read a manual. And that's the innovative part of it. Because if you really want to go big, if you really want to reach 1 million people, you don't think small and try to do a product that requires you to attend to everybody, because you can't attend to everybody. If you really want to scale big, then you have to design something that people can use without you having to explain things to them. And this is the aspect of simplicity. And this is just to explain to you that innovation is not just only about technology. It could also be social innovation. It's not only technological innovation. So there's process innovation, there's product innovation, there's social innovation, there's technological innovation. So you can innovate around a number of things. You can even innovate yourself. You can improve yourself. This guy, Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, 2011 or 12, he made a speech in Chinese for 24 minutes. So his own way of innovating himself is to also learn new languages. So you can improve yourself. You can innovate yourself. It should be about your dressing, it's be around communication. So everything is worthy of innovation, as we'll see as we advance. Okay, should I attend to this part? Okay, let me just use this to give like a background so you can have an idea of the potential impact of innovation. So 1956, this was the guy who did a study to help us see the importance of innovation. So he did a study. Prior to that time, they used to think that investments in machinery and people were the core factors responsible for the wealth of organizations and the wealth of nations. But this man did a study and found out that what we used to think was responsible for wealth creation, that is people and machinery slash technological gadgets, that is what made countries actually wealthy. People and capital. In economics, you say labor and capital. People and capital, those are the things you should think. From his study, it was discovered that those things only contributed to 15% of the changes in wealth or in growth. This is to say that what we used to think is responsible for wealth actually contributes only 15%. And there's this other factor which he couldn't explain. He called it the solar residual. And this factor is responsible for 85% of variations in growth. So another guy called Paul Romer cracked that and figured out that that factor that was responsible for 85% of the variations in growth is called innovation. In economics, we call it technological progress. So innovation actually is responsible for 85% of the variations in growth. As soon as the United States discovered that, they started to invest massively in innovation. And of course, people that innovate, so they started to expose the people to high-tech knowledge and insights. They started investing in research and development because it's research and development that translates into innovation, whether at the formal means or by an informal means. Okay, and so if you look at any nation that has a high level of innovation, you can figure out that they invest a lot in research and development. They see that people more as assets than liabilities. Unlike nations that depend a lot on natural resources, they don't consider their people valuable. But for an innovation-driven economy, the people are the assets. They invest a lot in the people because it's people that innovate. And since growth, what actually makes an economy grow really fast is not what we used to think before in the 70s, in the 80s, upwards. It's this factor, innovation, which is responsible for 85% of the variations in growth, while others contribute 15%. So it makes sense to say that this factor that contributes 85% is a magnifying factor. So you put in little and it amplifies the level of wealth and growth by 85%, then we should invest in this. And that has been the approach of more advanced nations. And that's why they are more advanced, because they have embraced this accelerator in quotes called innovation. Other nations that are still backward have not started doing that. By the time they see that, I believe they begin to employ that there. So to survive and thrive, you must compete, and to compete, you must innovate. It was in the ancient times that you compete with price. Now you have to compete with value. In fact, some people want to spend more if the price is more. Why will people pre-order an iPhone before the iPhone is even out? Whereas it's more expensive than other phones. The recent iPhone, iPhone 11 Pro, that phone can buy some cars, but it's a machine in itself. There are many things that it can do, lots of processing speed and capacity. Okay, now so let's look at a case study of innovation, and I'm going to use the ice business in history to explain that. So many years ago, even before the advent of vehicles and all that, there is this business called ice harvesting. So ice harvesting was the leading kind of business as at that time. And they wait for winter periods. And during winter periods, the top of the lakes usually are frozen with ice. So ice harvesters go there and saw the ice into slabs. They put them on carts and move them to houses and sell them to people. And it's amazing why people will even demand for ice during that period. People still demand for it. They still use it to preserve things because inside is hot. So they use that chilliness to preserve their food and other things because there were no refrigerators as at that time. So this was ice, the ice business 1.0, right? It was the era of ice harvesting. Lots of persons, well, not so much. The persons who were in that industry made lots of money, in hundreds of thousands of dollars, lots of money. It was a good business. as at that time. But while these guys were thinking, some other guys who were not in the industry, who were observing from the outside, were thinking that when exactly do we actually need ice the most? It's not actually during winter period. It's actually during summer period. That's when you need it the most. That's when food can go bad the most. And so they started to think, is it possible to still have ice during the period that is not winter? Because that's when you need ice the most. And possibly people will value ice more during non-winter periods than during winter periods. In fact, it's possible that they'll be able to charge a lot more and make a lot more money in selling ice during non-winter periods. And so this led to another kind of business, an improvement in this industry from ice version 1.0, that is ice harvesting, to the era of ice factories. This is the era of ice factories, ice version 2.0. And this era is the era of ice factories. That is the setup factories, a few persons set up factories, and they were making ice, whether it's winter, whether it's summer. And like you can guess, these guys did not, this did not make just thousands, it made millionaires, because they were selling a lot more during summer periods. People wanted ice more during summer periods, during spring periods, during all the non-winter periods, and they were making a lot more money. They were selling really fast, faster than those who were selling ice during the ice version 1.0 version, that is the era of ice harvesting. Now, this is the bad news, and this is true life, by the way. The bad news here is that none of the persons that started the ice version 2.0, none of them came from those who were in business in ice version 1.0. That is, none of those who were making money in ice version 1.0 were involved in ice version 2.0. So what ice version 2.0 did killed the business of those who were running ice harvesting in ice version 1.0. And so that's how the business of ice version 1.0 died, and everyone there lost, and some of them ended up being poor, just like what happened with the typewriter and the computer device. So this is how innovation renders existing solution obsolete. Now, the sad news is that these guys also fell into the same trap that the ice version 1.0 guys also fell into. While they were enjoying the euphoria of making a lot of money from the ice factories, making money during summer and winter period, huge amount of money, massive amount of money. They were really excited about the amount of money that they were making, that they were so blind they couldn't see the future. And they thought that there was no way that innovation could happen beyond what they've developed. So while they were building their ice factories and making a lot of money, some other guys were thinking, how can we make the factory and actually be selling the factories? And so this led to ice version 3.0, the era of refrigerators. So these guys literally collapsed the whole factory and turned them into usable, portable products that simple individuals could pick and begin to manufacture their own ice. So this led to ice version 3.0, the era of refrigerators. And that's the era that you and I met in the world, which we all have in our various houses, whether they be refrigerators or freezers here. And this has made a lot of money for a lot of organizations like Thermocool, Samsung, and the rest of them. And they've made it in not just in millions, but in billions of dollars. So if you notice, for every time innovation takes place, more money is made than in previous eras. And that's exactly what happens. And that's why innovation is usually the tool and the key. Now, take note, like some of you might be thinking, you might think that this is the end. There's going to be ice version 4.0, and it's going to be riding on nanotechnology, okay? And if these guys end up being blind, like those who were involved in ice version 1.0, they might also lose out, like the rest that came before them also lost out. So this is to express the importance of innovation. So what are the things that you need to innovate as an entrepreneur or an upcoming entrepreneur or an aspiring person who would like to start a company? Many things you can innovate. You have to innovate your work, make your work, improve on your processes, improve on how you perform, improve on how you relate, improve your business, improve your product. Your product needs to improve. Car companies are smart enough to keep developing new models for a reason. For a reason. Apple will keep doing iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4. Now it's iPhone 11. They will soon do iPhone 12. They've done iPhone 11 Pro. They'll do iPhone 12. Why? And what's the difference? The difference is maybe increase in processing speed, maybe increase in capacity, and maybe a little more features. Why? Because innovation is what you use to compete. You have to keep improving on what you're doing. Because if you don't do it, someone else is doing it to render your own obsolete and to render your own completely useless and look like nothing. So you have to keep improving it. So a way to look at it is, if you remember, there are some places where maybe about 10, 15 years ago, maybe a brand new house in a particular street, and the house looks really, really interesting. In fact, so it has the best, amazing design. And in your mind, you think, I mean, there can never be any house as fine as it is. This was 10, 15 years ago. Now, fast forward 10, 15 years after, maybe on that same street, new houses have taken place. And this house that looks like the king, the king's house 10, 15 years ago is now looking really, really old. You don't even like it. You don't like it because you've seen new things. And this, the way we can explain innovation, new things come to render the old look like nothing or obsolete. So everything needs to be innovated. Even you need to be innovated. Your work, your business, your product, your service, your processes. That's very important. Your packaging and your family and your life is worthy of innovation, right? So innovation basically also can be termed the capacity to compete. You compete more effectively when you embrace innovation as you go of doing things. Now, so let me express some blunt truths about a few things. Blunt truths about jobs in the future. Teaching will be disrupted. Certain courses, like you can see, also will be disrupted. And any job that can be automated is already insecure already. The jobs that will survive are the ones that machines can't learn from now. And so this explains to you that even the education industry will be disrupted outrightly. And so this explains the need and importance to begin to see innovation beyond just technology and why each of us should be involved in it. I'll try to rush so that at least we can advance a few things. So this is an example of things that the technology will take up. I remember while they were making noise at that time that typists should begin to think of high level of skills. Now everyone is a typist, so there's no practical job to say, oh, we're hiring you for typing. No, if they hire you, they won't pay you as much or value you as much. So these jobs will obviously be, technology is going to replace all these things. Note, imitation is no innovation. Copying doesn't mean you're innovative. Innovation, comes from the root cause of creativity, being able to see a problem and solve it creatively in a way that makes the end user see it as something simpler and cheaper, better and faster, more efficient than what existed before.
Having a class.
So how do you innovate? So there's a kind of mind that helps you to innovate. It includes inquisitiveness, the ability to query things. So let me give an example. If you think of how car companies operate, so I've studied like a few of them. So say for instance, Honda would like to make a new model of a car. So what they do is they bring the existing model and they begin to question it and ask series of questions. Can we improve the speed by 40%? Can we increase the interior to accommodate a family of 7? What can we do for someone who is an executive? In the case of going at a speed at so miles per hour, what can be the effect on the body? Can we adjust it a bit? Okay, the headlamps look this way. Can we differentiate it by making the curves a little? Now, while they're asking this question, someone is there who is writing down the answers to the questions. They're using questions, inquisitiveness, to figure out how they can improve on what they themselves had built and what others have praised them for. They are innovating themselves to render what they have done obsolete, to create a new model. By the time they have done and they've listed out the things, the answers to those questions that they've asked themselves, the outcome usually is a new model version. So we employ the wisdom of inquisitiveness and courage to innovate. I'll also show us a few things as we advance. So I've explained that. Questions? Yes. The true spirit of competition doesn't lobby, just do something that renders the existing product obsolete. This is just to express what innovation really is. So thank you very much for this. I will harvest questions at this point, then I'll show you what I said I was going to show you. So at this point, you can unmute your mic and ask me a question. Before I show you what I want to show you next, then we close the class.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen.
Thank you for the class. That was quite insightful and informative.
Hello?
Hi,
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you.
Okay, yeah, you're saying something. Yeah.
Okay. I say thank you very much for the class. It was quite
You're welcome.
insightful and informative. Um, when you talk about research and trying to get in touch, I mean, get abreast with the latest development. Um, what about with what's happening right now? This was COVID or this COVID scenario that you're not fast enough, and aside not fast enough, you're not having maybe the technology know the internet, the data, and the resources to flow. How best can you address that kind of situation? Because some persons are fortunate to have data, some persons are not fortunate. And some persons are fortunate to be in a place where there's power, some persons are not fortunate. So those ones are having some factors that mind their ability to flow with the trend. How can such be addressed?
Okay. So should we answer it based on one-on-one, or you want me to harvest all then answer? Maybe I should answer directly. So I don't know if you heard this term that necessity is the mother of invention. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Okay. So now every region has its own peculiar problem. So the kind of problems they face in the US and other advanced nations are different problems than what we face in Nigeria or in Africa generally. And so the whole process begins with understanding what the problem is. And now things have become a lot easier. So how best can you solve the problems around you? Now, this does not mean that you should try to do it all alone, which is my response in trying to answer your question. You can't do it all alone because there may be an aspect you can handle and there could be an aspect you cannot handle. For instance, you may have the idea, but may not have the skill to make it happen. You may have the skill and may not have the resources to make it happen. So this is where the wisdom of collaboration comes into play, into it. And so a number of companies, even in Nigeria, who are doing well, from Hotels.ng to Andela and the rest of them, not that they had all the money they had to start. So they started something and had a proof of concept and involved other persons in the picture, gave them equity in exchange, and also they're able to build the company. Now it's valued at 700 million US dollars, even though it started in Nigeria. So what I'm saying is start with something. Start with something that you can show potential collaborators and investors to see. Because if you are still speaking in abstract terms, nobody's going to believe you yet, because you need to prove that you yourself, you believe in it. And the proof that you believe in it is your ability to take it, is showing your ability to take it beyond concept stage, to a point that people can see that if you can come this far, then it means that you yourself believe in it. And then the investor can say, okay, I join my belief with you and I would like you to make something happen and commit resources to see how things can fly. So you also have to take like a step of faith to prove that and also get support. And that's why we have platforms, accelerators, venture accelerators like Hebron Startup Lab, and some in Lagos, depending on where you are. We have a lot of accelerators now that help that process and make it a lot easier. Maybe one of the things CDS will do is another webinar might take place that addresses entrepreneurial mindedness, how to cultivate the entrepreneurial mindset, because that's the kind of mind that can help to pick these pieces that you mentioned and actually put them up together and view it from a more entrepreneurial business viewpoint, instead of just staying at the concept stage. I don't know if you got what I'm saying, Jude.
Yeah.
Is it Jude that is talking? Hello? I don't know who asked me that question.
Jude.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I might want to ask another question. I don't know if other questions are waiting. But how do you protect your idea when you're showing it to a potential investor? And you know there are some investors that have the capacity to run with your idea and then to completion. You are just having the idea, you want to collaborate, but you're having even less, should I say, less facility or less stuff that can help
Resources.
resources rather, that can help you make this idea come to light. And you're showing it to an investor And if you maybe you know the technology know or the technology, the tools for you to use to make it get to completion, you might not even be on the know, and your product or your idea has already been converted into a product somewhere. And maybe in the next 1 year, you are seeing your idea. And if you trace it, it's probably one of those investors that you've been displayed your product to. So how do you trust these investors that they won't steal your idea because you need them to grow? How do you trust them, and how do you tackle it if you eventually find out that they've actually taken your idea?
Okay, I understand your question quite clearly. So maybe in trying to answer you, because by reason of the context that you are in, if you're in the US, you can sue somebody for picking an idea and running away.
Yeah, you can, sure.
You can do that. But understanding the present context that we are in, you'll be losing money trying to do that because you pay a lawyer to do that and to defend you. So that's bad business in itself. So my own suggestion is this, and this is what we believe in at Hipron Startup Lab. That's the path we follow. For you to be able to scale through, given this situation, start as quickly as possible. Have a proof of concept. That's one. Two is if you can legalize and have that idea work, run on an organization. That is, don't try to present it as an individual. Try to present yourself as an organization. You're usually taken more seriously as an organization than an individual. Organization to personal or individual relationship is usually not given as much respect like that. And I mean, an individual to an organization might not really fly, but organization to organization is more top notch. So the second thing I advise you can do is to incorporate as a legal entity. I mean, the organization. So number three, which we do at Hipron Startup Lab, is what we call NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. And there's nothing wrong in having a lawyer. So one of our partners called DIY Law, I recommend you get in touch with them. They also help out. They support startups. So it's a legal organization that supports startup companies. All right, they can help you with that. DIY Law, so you can check them up. DIY Law. They help startups with legal related issues there, even to incorporate your organization, filing patents, and a number of things. And they're very, very reliable. We use them at Hipron's Startup Lab. So you can engage them also for help on a non-disclosure agreement that can work. So if you are going to present an idea to an organization and they know that you have a legal backing and you are coming up as an organization, not an individual that is desperate to just get money, but a visionary who is trying to make something happen. So it's more about selling your vision than selling a product per se. You also need to present it in a way that you're taking a lot more seriously than just selling a product. You have to present yourself as a visionary that they need your passion to make it happen because they know that only you understands it. Because the way you're presenting it's so passionate that they know that by themselves they can't run and make it happen. They need someone who can push it to make it happen, as they can see and measure from your passion. And maybe just to cap it up, is that it's all about trust. It's still trust. Because even after you do all this, you still have to do it by faith and trust. While putting all these checks and measures in place. Have witnesses also, and that's why I said have non-disclosure agreements. There's a section there for witness and all that. Take it as business, not as a project. Take it as a business, so that the other organizations or investors you are dealing with also will have that. Discuss it based on business terms. So you want an investor to invest in exchange for what? What can the investor do without you? If it's something they can do without you, then you're putting yourself in the wrong position. If it's truly innovation, then there should be something really exceptional about it that cannot be easily copied. And if they're going to do anything at all, they actually need you to be involved for it to fly. But if it's something that they can do without you, then it means it's not really, really unique per se. You have to do something that requires you to be involved in it for it to work. That's what innovation is about.
That last part.
Okay, sir.
Jude, you were saying something?
I think the last part actually was what I needed.
Okay.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So I have a question. So
Are you
what
the one to ask question or the participant?
but I also have a question on behalf of the participants.
Okay.
Okay. She's asking that what are the new creativity tools that entrepreneurs or SMEs that they need to engage after this post-COVID?
COVID?
Yes.
You mean COVID-19?
Yeah, COVID-19.
Okay. Well, technology is supposed to make life simpler and easier. For instance, we're having a seminar here now. Maybe if we were to do it offline, you would have paid for transportation to come here to Covenant University. If it is going to be like a 2-3 day program, you have to lodge in a guest house. I mean, just think of the cost here.
Freshmen.
This whole program was set up, I think, within how many days? Is it 4 or 5 days or something like that?
5 days.
About 5 days. And that's because we're going to use technology. If we're not going to use technology, I mean, many things have to be set up. Arrangements for lodging, arrangements for feeding. I mean, we're not feeding you electronic food here. We are just looking at our faces over the. So as entrepreneurs, what are you supposed to do? Use technology. Use technology to save cost. So one of the companies that helped to mentor some of our students at Hebron Startup Lab and also support them told me about 3 weeks ago that they've saved up to 40% in operation costs. And they're not running gens, they're not doing a number of things. They're working remotely from home. So one of the things you can do to save resources if you have internet is to work from home. There are lots of productivity tools. There are tools that can help you. In fact, if you can get G Suite, that's Google's package for businesses, G Suite. It's made up of a Google Doc, Google Sheets, Google Form, and a number of other things that you can use, including an application that operates like Zoom. Zoom. So that's getting that for your organization, maybe for 2-3 persons and users. You have your dedicated email. You're able to use the Excel sheets maybe for the accounting. And because it's online, all of you can see exactly what's going on like on a dashboard. So these are basic tools. So I think the basic thing I can recommend is using G Suite as a productivity tool, particularly for small businesses. That will help a lot. Microsoft has a similar version, but I'm not used to that one. The one that I'm very used to that I know that works well is Google G Suite. So you can check that out. If you have a Google account, you have access to some of those tools. But if you're going to run with a team as an organization, and possibly also have it like your name at the name of the company. That's your company. The domain name. G Suite has that package, although it's not a free service. But if you're a foundation, it's free.
Okay.
Any other question?
Okay.
Okay, I promised I was going to show you something, right?
Sorry to cut you
So, yes, I'm listening.
It's quite funny and quite interesting that in as much as let me use a bigger establishment now.
Okay.
In as much as, or even maybe the church, what churches are doing now, trying to go digital, and churches and other organizations are trying to go virtual for video conferencing and the likes. Now, they as the hosts, they have, I said something in my first question, I said something about the technology and the ability for others to interact. You as the host, you might have it. What about the persons you actually want to connect? Your team, what about if not everybody can actually connect? So do you just set up a meeting and you're hoping that everybody can join? What about they can't join? The purpose will be defeated.
Okay, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. Where are you based? Lagos, Ogun, where?
Ogun.
Ogun. Okay, so I can't tell you specifically how much it takes to rent an office space in Ogun State. I don't know. But maybe what you want to do is weigh the cost of renting a space per month to have your team, or to take that amount and support their internet bandwidth,
Okay.
give them allowance for internet. So like the company I told you, as I give as an example now. So what they did was that amount that they saved up to about 40% in the operation cost. So they just took that amount to just support their staff. They have close to about 200 staff, 200 staff members. So what you can do is you can channel resources more productively, like that. We all have, even the woman that's selling paper on the street is using a smartphone. She's on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So, and your phone has a camera. But I'm using a laptop now with a webcam, but I mean, some of us are using our phones. You can use your phone for the same kind of stuff that we're doing, for the same FaceTime. So it doesn't have to be a laptop, a webcam or something. The mobile devices we have connected to the internet can help us with a lot of things. So what you can do is, if you're the entrepreneur who has the company, you want to weigh the costs, which is actually cheaper for you and will help you get the results that you want to achieve, if it's for business purposes.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered the question, or is there anything that?
I think that's more like it. There are very few, I think, don't do that. That's what I'm still trying to maybe take statistics of how many organizations actually do that. Okay, they want their team to work from home, and then do they really support them maybe for subscription? Because
no, they will have to. They will have to. You know what? It's about cost. For every time you are running an office, think of the amount you're paying on utilities. Think of the amount you're paying for water. Think of the amount you're paying for security. That's apart from rent.
Yeah.
Now, so to talk of the amount of hours you spend printing. Okay. But also at the same time, it depends on the nature of business anyway. It depends on the nature of business.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, sir, for the class. I really appreciate everything that was taught about innovation. My name is Adiola Desile.
Hello, Adiola.
Fine, thank you. I have a question. I want to ask that for a startup, a tech startup that has a technical founder, non-technical founder, I've actually noticed that there's a trend whereby most tech startups are expected to have technical founders. So I'm actually trying to become or I'm a non-technical founder in a team of entrepreneurs, and
so get a co-founder who's technical.
Like what kind of things do you really need to know, or do you really? Yeah,
I'm trying to hear you, Adiola.
I'm in a team with technical founders. Yes. Sorry, I'm in a team with technical founders, but I want to ask that what kind of things do you really need to learn about when it comes to when I talk to people, and then people talk about, okay, you need to learn some economics. I've heard some people talk about microeconomics. I've heard some people saying that you really need to understand the economics of what you like to do. So I wanted to ask that, what kind of learning path do you think an entrepreneur really needs to know about when it comes to economics?
Okay, if I get your question clearly, I think maybe what you're asking is, what are the things that an entrepreneur needs to know, right?
Yes.
Adiola?
Yes. When it comes to the economics of how businesses work.
Okay, the way you mentioned economics, you might be scaring some people. Like possibly you were also scared when you heard that. So I think the way to go is to learn as much as possible. I'm hoping if time permits us, I will show you the book I'm coming up with. It's already on pre-order state. I put inside it what will help entrepreneurs from the ground up, from the point of self to the point of building an organization. Even as a startup company, it all begins with you. So if you can know the things that are that I put in that book. I think that's the basic thing. Don't allow the theoretical macroeconomics, blah, 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 to confuse you. My background is in economics, for instance, and I've done a number of things around business and helping entrepreneurs. So with that, you don't have to, if I've gone through this, you don't need to understand the theory and now confuse yourself to start a company. To respond to what you said on whether having being technical or having a technical co-founder. So an organization is usually healthier if there is a mix. Imagine if all the organs in your body are doing just the same thing. What the lungs is doing is the same thing the heart is doing. No, everything is doing its own. The central nervous system is doing its own part. The circulatory system is doing its own part. The digestive system. So everything is happening automatically. You're not the one controlling your stomach. Oh, yeah, move the food now, or oxygen. Yeah, go to the lungs now. No, everything is just doing its own part. So the same way, for you to be healthy, you need to have various kinds of skills, not the same kinds of skills. So one person is responsible. If you are the conceptualizing guy, all right, maybe the CEO, there should be, if it's a tech company, somebody should be a key technology person there. Maybe it's going to be a tech company. So just make sure it's holistic. Make sure it's multidisciplinary. Make sure it is it has a lot of collaboration in it that makes it healthy, because that's what you need that will help you scale. Okay, I think what I wanted to show you is this. Let me show you guys what I wanted to show you. Maybe I'll also share this. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you. So while other companies are losing money seriously, Amazon is making $11,000 per second. Why? Because so in the US, lots of persons used to buy from Amazon, from Walmart, from Macy, from Target, and these are mega stores. Mega. I mean, look at the typical ShopRite in Nigeria. It's not up to 1/3 of a typical Target or a Walmart. Massive stores. Now the lockdown now has not allowed a lot of persons to go shop. So Amazon, which is an online platform, is where lots of them are going to do their shopping. So Amazon is making huge amount of money. And like I mentioned in my presentation, about last week, they announced that they want to hire about 75,000 more persons in order to meet up with the demand and orderings that have been made on their platform. So, I mean, they are well positioned. So it's their innovation is putting them at the top. Okay. Then let me see if I can help you with this. Is there any other question?
Do we have more questions?
Is there any other question?
Okay. I wanted to ask also that, for a lot of founding teams, normally have problems when they go along the way. So I wanted to ask that, are there some kind of thing when it comes to teams that you should know about, especially when you are founding teams, starting up, forming partnerships with people?
I think I need to hear you clearly. I hear you say something about teams, so I want to get, what are you saying?
I said that if you're in startup teams, a lot of startup teams end up having problems with each other.
A lot of startup teams end up having problems with each other. Is that what you said?
Yes. Like
okay, so go ahead.
What are the kind of things that you need to put in place to ensure that as you are building your business and you are trying to create partnerships with people, apart from, I know the legal side of it that, has to do with writing up contracts or things like that. Are there other things that you also need to think about when it comes to?
So it's like a marriage, right? It's like a marriage. It's a relationship. You are working with people. Being the leader is the toughest part, and that is where you have a role to play if you are the founder. So it's mostly around leadership and team building. I'll show you my book very soon now. There's a chapter there that is focusing on that, leadership and team building. you have to learn how to lead and build teams. You have only 24 hours for each day, and business needs time to grow. So only you can make it happen. If you hire one more person or you have a co-founder, that increases the time that your business needs from 24 hours to 48 hours. You know, people have the time, they have the tools, they have the resources, they have the networks, they have the things needed to make business to thrive. So being the leader, you have a role to play in helping to empower, enable, and motivate them to get things done according to what you're trying to achieve, which is the mission of your organization. So someone has to steer the ship. It's a vital role to play. In fact, your business will most likely not be successful if you can't manage relationships effectively well inside. So it's a very, very vital and important aspect. Very, very important.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Okay, I said I promised I was going to, so let me show you guys. Where is it? There you are. Good. So this is my book. It's going to be, I'm supposed to have launched it tomorrow, but we've not done the printing yet. So it's still at the stage of pre-order. So you can pre-order using the link on the screen, all right? And these are the things you'll find out in the book there. So the name is Start Rich, Becoming a High-Growth Entrepreneur. And you can get a lot more by pre-ordering it in this class. So to get it, just go to https, that is to pre-order // I'm sure Angela will send this to each of you. She will send the link to each of you, /EDS book. And the things that you learn from there, you learn how to find yourself and build your guts to start a startup. Because the best of businesses are the ones that are built around your personality, your talents, your skills, your passion. You will most likely not have the required courage when you're building a business that does not line up with your personality. And so it's essential for you to find yourself, which is necessary to build your guts. You also learn how to develop your entrepreneurial mindset. In fact, there's a chapter that handles that outrightly. That chapter is dedicated to that. You're able to build your entrepreneurial muscles to show you things to do. Also on how to create your own venture, starting a startup, starting a company. How do you start a company? What are the things that you need to factor out? It falls around creating value, creating opportunities, creating wealth. There are about 3 chapters that cover that. As you can see on the screen, there's a bullet there that talks about lead and build teams. You have to learn how to lead and build teams. That's a core responsibility of the true entrepreneur that will build a company that will last and that will stand the test of time. It's a very crucial aspect. An entire chapter is dedicated to address that. You also master the art of innovation and how to keep adventuring. You will see more of that in the book. Okay. A number of you are already in this community. In order to keep in touch with those who have bought the book and the readers, and also to support them, these are some of the things that we'll be doing as you join the EduStart online community. The link is there on the screen. Some of you have joined already. For those who have not, you can follow the link on the screen and also join. A number of things that we're going to do through that platform to help a lot of people realize their dreams to become entrepreneurs. So that's what I want to share, and I hope you picked a number of things from there. So if there are no questions, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, Dr. Stephen Oluwatobi. Thank you for allowing us to share from your bank of knowledge. Really, really appreciate you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir. And to all our participants, I want to appreciate everyone for signing up for this class. I trust that you might have learned 1 or 2 things from this session. And all that you have learned, I want you to put it into practice so that I can be able to scale up your business. And I believe that God will help us all in Jesus' name. Once again, thank you very much for attending this class. We deeply appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for organizing it too.
You're welcome. Thank you.
How do you get the video? The recorded?
Yeah, we have a recording for it. Yes, you will get it on the platform. That's EduStart Global platform. So it's going to be shared there. So from there, you can copy it and share to your friends too.
Thank you. I'm really grateful.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great time ahead. Bye.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Oluwatobi. Oluwatobi. Sorry. Thank you to Mr. Stephen Oluwatobi. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes. I want to. What? I can't say it.